All right. Hello and welcome. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. I am off for this federally, what is it, observed holiday, and I'm going to celebrate. I mean, even though personally I don't think my family has any indigenous blood in our lineage, my uncle seems to think that we might have one tribe, but they're a very loose might. Either way, not anything to write home about. I know college was giving very cheap tuition. I did have a friend who was able to trace enough lineage to be 1/16th or greater Native American in his family, and he only had to pay $500 a semester for tuition. That's amazing. That's probably just for like clerical fees, like to pay the workers to manage, like if he ever needs like office help or whatever, it's paying their salaries. So, um, either way, I'm excited for it because I didn't realize how controversial Christopher Columbus was until I was on campus one day. And this is how it's a great example of blind spots, like so glaringly obvious in hindsight, but when you're raised with just limited amounts of funding for your education, like public school is, like ridiculously limited. I mean, teachers are the real MVP, like just public school teachers that dedicate their time, their resources to teaching all these kids. And that's the best that they can do, really. I mean, and especially on the teacher's salary too, because you're working like, waiting tables over the summer. I remember seeing my science teacher at a restaurant. And I was like, and he was really happy and excited. Like he was having a great time. He also adopted a kiddo too, and like, doing all these great things up in a tiny mountain town. Like, sorry, I don't want to dox too much, but education, Columbus Day. Like, we know that Columbus sailed the ocean blue, what, in like 1492? It's supposed to be that rhyme. And I'm still working on that. The tagging pictures, or well, I mean, they're just the cartoonish pictures of learning the presidents. I've only got like five or six of them done, but I want to do them right. And I'm going to do like a short on that, learning the presidents. But no, I saw this guy lay down with his face covered. This was before COVID and everything. This is before COVID was even on the radar for anyone. Like, this was back in like 2015, 14, 2014, something. So not that long ago, but still a while ago. So anyways, I see a steamroller rolling around on Colorado State University campus, and there's this dude just laying in front of it with a sign. It says Columbus was a murderer, and my buddy and I, and we were enjoying a bit of the devil's lettuce, like, and we were sitting up there. Not currently, like, we were just sitting there, like, looking at this, and we had been smoking that day, and like, I know it's not legal on campus, and I think that's ridiculous. I think but anyways, we were never out of control either. Like, I mean, and anyone who has a medical card, like you can hit like a dab pen in the morning or whatever, and like have a steady amount of it in your bloodstream in your system just to like function throughout the day. So, anyways, we look down and we see because we were discussing this algorithm on this particular problem that we were having, and that was our life. Like we hung out at the computer science building, just talking about like, okay, well, we need to do this. How do we do this? But this breaks this, and we look over, we see this dude laying down, and the steamroller really wasn't going anywhere. Like it looked like it had been parked, and like maybe the guy was waiting for it. Or maybe there wasn't even a driver in the steamroller. It was just parked there temporarily, and the dude just went and laid down. I don't know. Or maybe, that was just where we saw it. And either way, it worked. That non-violent form of protest. I mean, it was ridiculously stupid. Hopefully, he stood there in front of it first and saw it, like, so the guy sees him, and then he lays down. Like, there's an order of operations that's pretty important that happens there, or you could die. I mean, it's like those people that take selfies in extreme situations and then end up falling to their death or something. Like, ah, I mean, you want to feel bad for people and mourn them, but what the crud? Like, come on now, you're making us look stupid as a civilization. And a lot of it is the younger folks like, oh, this will be such a gnarly picture, and it's actually going to work in getting me a mate. You know, it's going to get me a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever. It's going to impress somebody enough to the point where I will get what I want. It'll grease the wheels, as it were. It will keep this PG, but you know, it all makes sense. It's human stupidity for human survival. But happy Indigenous Peoples Day. So back to that, I'm actually reading, starting to. It's already a way more complicated book than I signed on for, but you know, I'm trying to do better about reading. Not trying very hard, but because I did just recently read Neil deGrasse Tyson's. I'm in a book club at my work, and like, and we've been so busy that we really haven't done much. Actually, you know what? We'll pay your exorbitant prices because we have them. Like the garden. Oh man, mind you, that last one wasn't like a full stack, but still. Whew, that was pricey. So, there's a book that it talks about like the legends handed down by 31 tribes, I think it was, or 31 storylines um, of Native American culture and history. But even from the get-go, the author talks about how it's comparing it to this niche part of psychology that really in depth, like, you know, like how there's this deep analytical thinking, I think, to relate humanity, you know, and it even says a quote like we were all related, I think is what it says, or we were all family. And it's true, like, and that's, you know, I mentioned Neil because his um actually I don't know if it was in the book. Now I'd have to go back and look at it because there's a lot in that book, but I know he said it somewhere that human beings are only a certain percentage different from each other. Like it's just proven that we are, you know, the physical and the physical differences are only so much, or only skin deep, basically. Like the pigment ratio on your skin, which and we also have cases of like albinoism and you know, I don't remember what it's called, but there's also a part where like it could be splotchy, like pigmentation changes. But anyways, the point is, oh, did we have a collision and a crash? Okay, so one thing I did add, and you know, I'll fix that next, but whoa. Huh. That did not work at all. How did? Whoa. All right. Well, there we go. But now it's got two of them. Is that two? Where's the other one? So there were two minecarts on this railway, and it's okay. I'll go ahead and show you what I added because I do have a few minecarts nearby. I should build more storage closer, but I don't know. Just did a little bit of work on. All right, whatever. I at least have this. Okay. Oh, and I keep like putting more emerald blocks closer, but now like I don't know, just so you can use them and whatnot. If a wandering trader comes by with coral or any of the other unique things, but anyway, so if you accidentally bump the minecart, in fact, we're gonna go, whee, it'll go backwards and it'll go this way. So it is now bi-directional. Like you can go one way or the other way, and then it goes in here. You got rid of the cow in the cart, goes back up, and it spits you out right back on track. Now this needs another one, but even that's not terrible. Oh, so I think I know what needs to happen. Also, what are you doing back here? Oh, either way. And do you need like assistance getting out? I feel like that might help things. I mean, I can. Whatever. He's fine. He's fine. So, Oh, that's cool. He barely made it, and then he fell backwards, and then it'll push out this way. See, what I was gonna do is I was gonna add it. Like for some reason, the extra weight makes it stop right there. So what we'll do is we'll just put another power rail in place of that last rail there, and it'll launch them. But it was kind of cool how they were falling backwards anyway. So I don't know. I feel like that was connecting an arc from a long time ago that needed to be connected because I just had that cow sitting there forever. And let's see. I also need some of that. So, anyways, yeah, kicking off Indigenous Peoples Day by totally ripping um, on Mr. Former President Donald Trump. And yes, this is going to get a little political today, or it might actually get into a bunch of Dark Souls because now this page that I follow has gotten into like Dark Souls 2 posting. And there we go. Woo! Oh, that's so much fun. So now I want to play another playthrough of Dark Souls 2, and I still haven't finished Dark Souls 1. I still haven't finished Elden Ring, not even close. I started playing a bunch with my friends, and like, all right, here we go. Moment of truth. Yep. So that fixed it. Now it'll just continue to go, even with a librarian and a duck. Wait, is the duck not with him now? I think the duck's gone. Yeah, the duck's gone. Oh, no. Duck's still there. Or chicken. They look like ducks in the city texture pack, so I'm kind of used to them being ducks. And ducks are probably now my favorite animal, with how they sound like they're laughing when they're... They've got neon orange feet, green heads. Very psychedelic and trippy type of animal. Basically the Joker with feathers. Anyways, back to politics. So Donald Trump was recently in Aurora, Colorado, and like five other places too. So you gotta hand it to the guy. Like he is making moves, and he's pretty old there, and you know people are trying to call into question his medical stamina and if he's fit for office and traveling around the country, especially Aurora. Aurora is a sketchy place. I will tell you that. Like it's not Colorado's gem by any means. But I mean, it's not all that bad either. And so there's the story going around that there's been some Venezuelan gangs that took over an apartment complex. And the story was debunked, and even, you know, local Colorado news stations talked about how it is getting shut down for things like rat infestations and code violations, but it has not been taken over by Venezuelan gang members. And the reports that there's Venezuelan gang members here, probably. There's also Colorado gang members here. Like we have a lot of gang stuff in Colorado, and we're trying to work on that. Like just trying to part of the reason why I'm so adamant about the psychedelic or even just a hippie farm for like soft landings for people coming from prison or jail, because when you finish your sentence, that's it, you're done, you've repaid your debt to society. That's what people don't understand is like when people get convicted of a crime, they might go to prison for, you know, a few years, maybe even several, maybe even a decade or more. I know a guy that was in Lyman for a decade, like, you know, for an accidental death. Like he accidentally killed a family member in a bar squall. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to dox too much, but that was the situation. This guy wasn't out like a cold-blooded murderer. He knocked the snot out of somebody, and they took it too far. And they were drinking too. It wasn't like, and again, alcohol. Like as much as I have enjoyed it my fair self, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. Like it is fun, but it's also a depressant. Like it will make you sad as stuff. Like eventually, especially if you use it, drink it a lot like I was. I mean, it was terrible. I had like several 40s a night, just to like, you know, two or three for me. Whew, that's what, 80 to 120 fluid ounces of malt liquor. And it was always Old English, like, or Mickey's, or, and that was the best. So like Colt 45 wasn't really big up in, you know, Fort Collins, but back in Buena Vista, yeah, we had Colt 45, Old English, like all the ghetto malt liquor. And it was definitely, it was not a black thing. It was not an African American thing, like exclusively. I mean, of course, we borrowed a lot of culture, like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Nate Dogg. I had that Nate Dogg CD, Music in Me. Ooh, that was fire. And I did find a picture. I had an afro in 10th grade is when it was. I thought it was middle school, but and I might have had a little one, but I actually have my school picture from 10th grade and I look pale too. Like I look like I didn't see much sun. And so and I think that was like when I was like really became a huge stoner, hacky sacking and whatnot. And not encouraging other kids to do so. I'm just saying like, we were already drinking alcohol and stuff and it was just like it didn't seem that bad, and it really wasn't. I feel like if we change the stigma on that, or just make it to where nobody is drinking at that young of an age, because they're perfectly stimulated with all the technology and entertainment and access to things that used to be only wealthy people could afford. And I remember like I was buddies with this very wealthy kid and his family. I mean, and great family too. Like I feel like I've actually become a lot like the dad, except for the whole Catholic thing. But he worked with computers, but he was more in computer sales. And like they had a really huge house in BV. They had all the tech gadgets like right when they came out, all the cool stuff and like including like weird prototype stuff. Like I remember they had this like ball roller thing, and they had Aesop's Fables on it. It was sick, but like, especially compared to the nothing that we had. I had Game Boys. Did I have a Game Boy at that age? Because Game Boy was pretty legit. Like, there was some pretty cool stuff on there. A lot of cool puzzles and like just thinking in games, and like they really utilized just having a flat, you know, 2D surface of gameplay worth. Let's see, I don't think any of these. What's that noise? Sorry, it sounded almost like a roller coaster. I was talking, of course, but flabbing away or flapping my gums. But no, Trump coming to Aurora. And so, sorry, I guess I've already spent a decent amount of time on XApp posting a video of JD Vance talking about Trump, being like, he's not trustworthy. He's a scam artist. I don't trust him. I'm going for Hillary. Like, showing that bipartisan support for Hillary. Now, and I get it. Like, for anyone who's sick of the quote unquote war machine, maybe Hillary wasn't the best choice if they wanted to stop seeing the endless wars. But then Trump got in, and guess what? Like, it quieted, but he didn't get us out of Afghanistan. He set it up, but I will commend him though. He did meet with the Taliban to try to negotiate directly with the people causing the issues. Like, and that always confused me. Like, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Like, I get it. Like, that's a very cool thing to say, and like in a perfect world, yeah, that sounds beautiful. But like the fact of the matter is if a human being is desperate enough to do some crazy crap like that, I mean, I'm not applauding it. Like I support, the FBI, CIA, all the alphabet agencies to catch that, stuff ahead of time. But I also trust the thinkers out there. And remember, I was supposed to be military intelligence. I was a failure because I had, certain things in my system, but it didn't make it more than like a couple weeks. So, and I only say that because my friend brought that up the other day. He's like, why don't you support Trump? You were trying for the Marines and everything. And I was like, well, yeah, of course. I still serve my country in whatever way I can. Like, and that's why I'm all really excited about like housing opportunities and like different programs and Elevations Land Trust and different models of home buying and it's not great, but like the fact that we need to have this stuff. But I recently attended a home buying meeting for like because I'm debating on working with Habitat for Humanity for my own house. Like, you know, I mean, if I'm not too old yet. I'm just kidding. But I used to build houses. That was one of my summer jobs. Like, because just like public school teachers, I had to work seasonal jobs because we had a lot that relied on the season. We had great skiing in the winter, and we have river rafting in the summer up there in BV, Buena Vista, for those that don't know. And that's it. Like there's not a lot to keep people around. It's like, oh, this is such a quaint, cool place. Oh, they've got the world's largest kayak play hole. So like if you get into any kind of kayaking, you're gonna want to go up there to BV, and then you can still go down to Salida. And that's like the point is you kind of have this tour of Colorado. And even if you start higher up in Leadville, like, and what is it? I always remembered the numbers, but I never really remembered where it was or what it was. And I've only been on the river a couple of times. One time, well, no, we won't talk about that. No, nothing too bad, and like everybody already pretty much knew. But the stuff that we did would get you in so much trouble, but not, it would get you in no trouble today. Sorry, I guess is what I should say. We like to party, and like nowadays it'd be totally legal, and so cracks me up, but it kind of upsets me that it took this long. I mean, anyways, so Trump came to Aurora and said gangs are taking over. Well, not really. So that was a lie, and he's still telling the lie. And so I posted videos of JD Vance saying that he's not trustworthy, and like, and I'm just gonna continue posting stuff here and there. I doubt, the Donald is actually gonna personally see anything I do. I think I remember hearing that he gets shielded from that, and in fact, his staffers used to bring him a folder of like positive things, like positive notes or like the positive things from his campaign, which was both good and bad because it also led to a lie for himself that everything's hunky dory, and so he's kind of not being realistic with himself. Possibly, I don't know what's going on in the Donald's mind. Like, it's not fair to assume what someone else is thinking, but if it were me and if I had a folder of all the good things that were happening and the good things I was doing, and I didn't hear about the bad things, I mean, or maybe he was briefed separately, or I don't know how deep they really go because the ego is a fickle thing. So, anyways, so I did a healthy dose of that. I did have to do one work thing, but that's okay. I don't know. It's even more scarier. Is like there's all this war in the Middle East going on in the background of all this, and Russia, Ukraine, and now I guess North Korea has entered the chat and has joined, trying to push for Ukraine. And I don't know. That it's all a mess. It's all a mess, and I don't. That's a lot of money too. I don't like that we're sending all that money, but I also don't like that they're not free. And if they want to be free, and they did it the right way, I don't know. And see, and it's not even my as an American who grew up learning how great freedom was and independence was, I support their right to be independent. Same with Taiwan. But I mean, I feel like China and Russia should really work together on figuring out the why and maybe even just fix the whys because it isn't the same as American independence. Like our colonists were far removed from the crown. And there's so many independence days from Britain. England was like the world empire, and that's just human nature. Like, oh, we got to go conquer this and help them and teach them the ways, and same even before that, the Peloponnesian Wars with King Xerxes, and the little bit of 300. And my my history knowledge is very rusty of that, but I did, study Peloponnesian Wars at once upon a time, and and the movie 300. That's just it's just really cool because they're like 300 Jews. I mean, granted, like, I'm just kidding. Like, thinking about how, like, the Greeks and Romans supposedly were bisexual back in the day. And, like, and that movie does look like kind of like a Magic Mike. Like, it's just a bunch of, like, gladiator, like, type dudes running around in, like, G strings and, like, just massive muscles. And every dude watching is just like, oh, man, like, looking down at themselves. I mean, at least I am just like, ah. Because I always had a belly. I'm never gonna have that. But it's funny because it's also like sexualizing. Anyways, um, and I think that's another thing that Russia just kind of because I feel like gay stuff is still illegal there. I mean, or not that long ago, there was a song, like a music video or something, and the backstory was that it's illegal to be homosexual, both men and women. I think like that tattoo or tattoo the two gals that did all the things she said, all the things she said. And it was like it just kept repeating over and over, and it was like their love song, and it was beautiful. It was a great song. It was really cool. But like, I think that was even illegal, or like so okay, And the leader of Ukraine was in like that dancing thing, and like, has a wife, has all this stuff. But even just like, I don't know. I feel like it's the generational thing that we had to shake loose here too. Like we're not so different in all these different countries. I mean, it's human nature is human nature. And North Korea has just always been kind of was like, yeah, look at me, like, and with good reason, like trying to control the country in a certain way that we don't really approve of here, and And that movie, oh man, that movie was funny, but it was messed up. It was a big middle finger to like, you know what? And uh, but I also like to point out how England and America are so close today. Like we're good, we're solid. Like I mean, we had a quite the spat back in the day. It caused a lot of uncomfortableness, and now you know, I mean, I grew up loving British comedy, like Monty Python, Mr. Bean, like these legends. I mean, hilarious stuff. And even in there, they joked around with cross-dressing and femininity and stuff, and like, just exploring stuff and then like going back. I don't know. And I think it was like National Coming Out Day recently or something, but eh, I feel like it's almost too much like going one way or the other, like pigeonholing, and then you're stuck there. So what was it? I saw this video of the Ayatollah, I think. I think it's the same guy that like Homer Simpson's been making fun of for decades. But he said like once you go to homosexuality, there is no coming back from that. And I even commented, I was like, I don't think that's the threat he thinks it is. Like he's just like advocating for homosexuality at that point. But I think he meant it in the fact that like you're marked like, God knows what you did, shame and like horrification, all that. And even in the Christian religion where they do say that homosexuality is a abomination and like the sodomites and stuff, but even then there's discussion like the sodomite thing, it was only like because of Sodom was like just a bad thing. They just happened to also do that. Like it wasn't necessarily the defining characteristic, but then like the Gospel of Mary Magdalene like talks about how acceptance, and it doesn't outright, I don't think, ever say like, oh yeah, it's okay to be gay, but that Megan Watterson reflection book that I still haven't read the full of that. Yeah, that's one thing I need to do, but today is Indigenous Peoples Day, and just understanding humanity and like, and also giving it a look inside is like, what's with these crazy white people that came and invaded, like, thankfully, I think everybody kind of understands enough of a mix of culture nowadays to at least have some understanding, of the two completely different worlds that crashed when Christopher Columbus and other conquistadors too. It wasn't just, I think Columbus was from Italy or Portugal. I don't even know. So, but anyways, a European came over here, and many did, and like that's the whole premise for Pirates of the Caribbean is like Cortez came over and killed a bunch of the local tribes and made the blood money gold, and then it was cursed because it was killing all of the locals, and so with their dying breath they cursed them, and as it should be, karma. Like you don't come over and kill a bunch of people, take their gold and stuff, and then I feel like that's a lot what's happening with Africa too, and we've got to make sure that that doesn't turn out sketchy. Because like there's been some arguing that China's doing a bunch of unfair loaning practices where they're taking a bunch of Africa's wealth, but also developing for them. And then, but then even as I say that, it's like, wait, so you mean they're taking payment for helping them join like the world, the rest of the world? I mean, nothing's free. So again, that's not the burn that you think it might be at face value. If you just think about it for a sec, be like, wait a minute. So, but no, Trump's still lying about migrant gangs being an issue. Like, I mean, they're not great, but they're funneling a lot of drugs through the state and all that. And like, Colorado's notorious for both our drugs and our harsh, tough on crime policies. Where it's a common joke, like come to Colorado on vacation, stay on probation. Oh, there's time. And yeah, like I said, I might jump over to some Dark Soulsy type stuff today. Enough of this constant political and religious grind. Although it's not as bad. It's really not as bad once you start thinking about this. And that's why I love Neil's book, Starry Messenger, A Cosmic Perspective on Human Civilization. It's the perfect book that everybody needs to read. And I bought a copy. My mom bought like 2 copies and shared it around. Like, I mean, it's gold. It's awesome stuff. It basically just means, and even he talked on Stephen Colbert. There's this little clip of a YouTube video where he's talking about the cosmic perspective is when the NASA astronauts went up, which my family worked on, by the way. They worked for NASA back in the day, some engineering types. But anyways, And we saw the world as it was, as a giant ball of just one single place. It was one single home, one single people. It was just humanity united. There's no painted borders as we see on like literally every map. It was just one world that blended together, and you couldn't tell who lived where, who was who. And so, and that was, the 60s or 70s, whenever it actually was. I apologize, I don't remember exactly, but around that same time, the Environmental Protection Agency came to light, and like this increased desire to preserve this earth and to take care of it, and how beautiful it actually was. And then the pictures were relayed back to Earth and just shown, and it was just like, we understood. And so, anyways, and that's why, and I just got ripped on. Okay, I know we're at time and we gotta go, but I just recently got ripped on by this angry person that didn't like how I was saying, like anti-Trump stuff. And I do a lot. I keep them honest. Anti, like, Trump sacrilegious, Trump Satan. Like, I try not to go too heavy, but there's this meme that has like all these things of like how he ticks the boxes. And I think we've talked about this before. It's technically I do in this world because I build towers, admiration. Like I'm sitting here listening to myself talk. Anyways, but he's like especially, and that's just what any person would rot at the top would do. Like you rot at the top. If you're stagnant, idle, you can't help but build towers. You need self reaffirmation that yeah, I'm doing a good job. Even taking shortcuts and lying and cheating, and trying to cheat in a race, which is not cool, first of all, but lying all the time. Anyways, so I'm not saying being in a gang is a good thing, but I'm also saying it's not the end of the world. You'll probably end up in rehab or some kind of classes. You might change, you might not. You might need 2 or 3 times through those classes. But either way, you'll get to a point where also you get a good job too. I think that's a lot of it too. Shortcuts taken by people coming here. It's easy to get into drug dealing and stuff, and like it is a big shortcut. However, like with legalization of things and things moving to basically grocery store type like situations, it's also disappearing. So, anyways, I gotta go. This is what 33? Oh, it's only 32 minutes. All right, ta-ta for now. I'll see you in whatever I do next. Have a great day if not. Or happy Indigenous Peoples Day. That's what I should do. I should come in on Lakota Man's thing or see what he's up to today. Probably election stuff, but I mean, probably some native stuff too. He's a great person to follow. But anyways, ta-ta. See you later.